The sun was setting over the peaceful village of Millbrook, casting long shadows across the green fields. Little Tommy, a bright-eyed 6-year-old with a mop of curly brown hair, chased fireflies in his backyard. His laughter echoed through the quiet evening air, a sound of pure joy and innocence. High above the Earth's atmosphere, an enormous ship appeared out of nowhere. Its sleek, dark form blocked out the stars as it settled into orbit. This was the ISS Dominion, flagship of the Galactic Empire's 7th Fleet. On its bridge, Admiral Zextor, a tall, green-skinned alien with 4 arms, stared at the blue planet below. "Primitive," he muttered, his voice a low growl. "Hardly worth our time." But orders were orders. The Empire wanted to establish a presence on this backwater world, and Zextor was tasked with making first contact. He barked commands to his crew, and soon a sleek shuttle detached from the Dominion, heading towards the surface. Back in Millbrook, Tommy had just caught his first firefly. He cupped it gently in his hands, peeking through his fingers to watch it glow. That's when he saw it, a bright light in the sky, getting bigger and bigger. His eyes widened with wonder. The Imperial shuttle pierced through the clouds, its engines humming with otherworldly power. It touched down in the field behind Tommy's house, flattening a circle of corn. The boy stood transfixed as a door hissed open, and strange figures emerged. 3 Imperial soldiers stomped down the ramp, their armor gleaming in the fading light. They were tall, with 4 arms like their admiral, but their faces were hidden behind dark visors. They carried weapons that looked like something out of Tommy's favorite sci-fi shows. Tommy's curiosity overcame his fear. He took a step forward, still holding the firefly. "Hello," he called out, his voice small but brave. The soldiers whirled around, raising their weapons. Their translator devices crackled, trying to decipher the unfamiliar language. All they understood was a high-pitched noise coming from a small, unpredictable life form. "Threat detected," the lead soldier shouted. "Engaging hostile." Tommy saw the strange tube in the soldier's hands glow red. He didn't understand what was happening, but something in his young mind sensed danger. He turned to run, still clutching the firefly. A beam of searing energy lanced out, catching Tommy in the back. There was a brief, terrible scream, then silence. Where the boy had stood, there was now only a small, smoldering patch of grass. The firefly, released from his grip, flew away into the gathering darkness. For a moment, everything was still. Then, a heart-wrenching wail pierced the air. Tommy's mother had seen everything from the kitchen window. Her scream alerted neighbors, who came running. Phones were pulled out, calls were made, and within minutes, the quiet village of Millbrook became the epicenter of humanity's first and most tragic alien encounter. News spread like wildfire. Social media exploded with shaky video footage of the alien ship and soldiers. Governments around the world scrambled to respond. The United Nations called an emergency session, while military forces worldwide went on high alert. In orbit, Admiral Zextor received the report from his soldiers. He dismissed the incident as a regrettable but minor setback. "The natives are hostile," he noted in his log. "Pacification may be necessary." But Zextor had made a grave miscalculation. He didn't understand the value humans placed on their young, nor the fury that would be unleashed by this single, senseless act. As night fell over Millbrook, candlelight vigils sprang up spontaneously around the world. People of all nations mourned for Tommy, the first human casualty of an interstellar war nobody had seen coming. But beneath the sorrow, a terrible resolve was forming. In the halls of power, leaders spoke in hushed, angry tones. Plans were drawn up, alliances forged, and resources mobilized. Humanity had been attacked, and it would respond with a force that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Little did the Galactic Empire know, but in killing one innocent child, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Earth was going to war, and it would not rest until justice was served, no matter the cost. The world woke up to a new reality. Alien life existed, and it had struck a devastating first blow. As the sun rose over each time zone, people huddled around screens, watching the news in stunned silence. The image of little Tommy, smiling in his school photo, was everywhere. His innocent face became a symbol of Earth's lost innocence. In New York, the United Nations building buzzed with frantic activity. Security Council members arrived in a steady stream of black cars, their faces grim. Inside, the General Assembly Hall was packed. The air was thick with tension and the murmur of 100 languages. UN Secretary General Maria Chen took the podium, her usual calm demeanor replaced by barely contained fury. "Today, we face the greatest threat in human history," she began. The room fell silent. "But we will not cower. We will not surrender. Humanity stands united against this cosmic injustice." Her words were met with thunderous applause. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth agreed on one thing: the alien threat must be answered. Meanwhile, in a secret bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the leaders of Earth's major powers gathered. President Sarah Johnson of the United States, her face etched with determination, addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have one chance to get this right," she said, her voice steady. "The fate of our species hangs in the balance." Chinese Premier Lai Wei nodded solemnly. "We must put aside our differences," he said. "Earth must speak with one voice." Russian President Dmitry Volkov leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "And that voice must be backed by unimaginable force." For hours, they debated strategy. Military leaders presented options. Scientists offered insights into the alien technology glimpsed so far. But it was clear that Earth's current weapons were no match for the invaders. As the meeting stretched into the night, a young Indian scientist named Priya Patel cleared her throat. All eyes turned to her. "What if," she said slowly, "we could build our own fleet? Not just a few ships, but thousands, enough to overwhelm any force in the galaxy." The room erupted in murmurs. It seemed impossible. But as Priya explained her ideas, drawing on breakthrough technologies from labs around the world, hope began to grow. President Johnson stood up, her decision made. "Project Nemesis," she announced. "That's what we'll call it. The bringer of divine retribution." Across the globe, factories retooled overnight. Universities emptied as the brightest minds were recruited for the war effort. In fields and deserts, massive construction sites sprang up, hidden from prying eyes by advanced camouflage technology. The alien ship still orbited Earth, its crew unaware of the storm brewing below. They sent messages, demanding Earth's surrender. Each was met with silence. Admiral Zexter grew impatient. "These primitives test my patience," he growled to his second-in-command. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our power more forcefully." But the Empire had fatally underestimated humanity's resolve. In labs and workshops around the world, a new future was taking shape. Scientists worked around the clock, fueled by grief and rage. Engineers pushed the boundaries of physics, driven by the memory of one small boy. As the first prototype Dreadnought took shape in a hidden lunar base, Earth's leaders gathered once more. They knew that once they revealed their hand, there would be no turning back. The entire human race would be committed to a war on a scale never before imagined. President Johnson looked at each person in the room, reading the mix of fear and determination in their eyes. "We didn't start this fight," she said quietly, "but by God, we're going to finish it." Humanity had been attacked, and soon it would unveil its terrible response. The galaxy would never be the same again. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a vast underground complex, the greatest minds of Earth had gathered. The red planet's dust storms provided the perfect cover for humanity's most ambitious project yet. Here, far from prying alien eyes, Project Nemesis was taking shape. Dr. Priya Patel stood before a massive holographic display, her eyes shining with excitement. Around her, scientists and engineers from every nation worked in perfect harmony, their past rivalries forgotten in the face of a common enemy. "The quantum fold drive is ready," Priya announced, her voice echoing through the cavernous room. "With this, our ships will be able to cross galaxies in the blink of an eye." A cheer went up from the assembled crowd. It was a breakthrough that would have taken centuries under normal circumstances. But these were not normal times. In another part of the complex, retired U.S. Marine General Jack Harper oversaw the weapons development team. His gruff voice carried over the sound of humming machinery. "The plasma cannons are operational," he reported. "One shot from these babies could take out a small moon." The scale of the project was staggering. All across the solar system, asteroids were being hollowed out and transformed into shipyards. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn had become mining colonies, providing the raw materials needed for the massive fleet. On Earth, every available resource was poured into the war effort. Cities transformed overnight, with skyscrapers converted into vertical farms to feed the workers. Children studied advanced physics and engineering instead of literature and history. The entire planet was a war machine, driven by a single purpose: revenge. But the heart of Project Nemesis was the AI system that would control the fleet. In a secure room at the center of the Mars complex, Dr. Chen Wei worked tirelessly on the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created. "We're calling it AI," Chen explained to a group of visiting officials. "Autonomous retribution and intelligence array. It will coordinate all 700,000 dreadnoughts, making them act as one unstoppable force." The officials murmured in awe. The implications were clear. With AI, humanity would have the power to challenge not just the Galactic Empire, but any force in the universe. As the project entered its final stages, security became even tighter. The alien ship still orbited Earth, occasionally sending threatening messages, but humanity had maintained its silence, giving no hint of the storm that was brewing. One day, as Priya was working late in her lab, she noticed something strange. A shadow moved where it shouldn't have. Her heart racing, she triggered a silent alarm. Within seconds, security teams swarmed the area. They caught the intruder, a shape-shifting alien spy who had managed to infiltrate the base. Under intense interrogation, the spy revealed that the Empire suspected something was happening, but had no idea of the true scale of Earth's preparations. The incident served as a wake-up call. General Harper increased security measures to unprecedented levels. "We're too close to risk exposure now," he growled. "No one gets in or out without triple verification." As the weeks turned into months, the fleet began to take shape. In hidden docks across the solar system, massive dreadnoughts waited silently. Each ship was a city in itself, bristling with weapons that could shatter planets. Finally, after 3 years of round-the-clock work, it was time. President Johnson addressed the project leaders from her bunker on Earth. Her face, beamed onto screens throughout the solar system, showed the strain of the past years, but also a fierce determination. "You've all done the impossible," she said. "Now it's time to show the galaxy that humanity is not to be trifled with. Initiate launch sequence." As 700,000 engines roared to life, the solar system lit up as the mightiest fleet ever created revealed itself. In low Earth orbit, Admiral Zextor's single ship suddenly seemed very, very small. The stage was set. Humanity was ready to unleash its vengeance upon the stars. The day of reckoning had arrived. Earth's mighty fleet, hidden for so long, was about to reveal itself to the galaxy. In the command center on Mars, tension crackled in the air like electricity. President Sarah Johnson stood tall, her gray hair gleaming under the harsh lights. She nodded to General Harper. "It's time," she said simply. Harper's voice boomed through the intercom system, reaching every ship in the fleet. "Operation Nemesis is go. I repeat, Operation Nemesis is go." In orbit around Earth, Admiral Zextor was growing impatient. 3 years of silence from the primitives was wearing on his nerves. He was about to order another threatening broadcast when his second-in-command let out a startled gasp. "Admiral, energy signatures everywhere." Zextor rushed to the view screen. His 4 eyes widened in disbelief. All around his lone ship, Space itself seemed to be tearing open. Massive vessels, each easily dwarfing his own, emerged from the quantum fold rifts. They kept coming, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. On Earth, in Times Square, the giant screens usually filled with advertisements now showed a live feed from space. People stopped and stared, their mouths hanging open. The sky above them filled with points of light as the massive fleet took position. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Beijing, Moscow, London, and every major city, humans watched in awe as their secret weapon was finally unveiled. Back on the Galactic Empire's ship, panic was setting in. "It's impossible," Zextor muttered. "These primitives, how could they hide this?" A communication request flashed on his screen. With a trembling hand, he accepted it. President Johnson's face filled the screen, her eyes hard as steel. "I am Sarah Johnson, President of the United Earth Government. You came to our world uninvited. You killed our child. Now you will face the consequences." Zextor tried to regain his composure. "This is clearly a misunderstanding," he stammered. "The Empire wishes no conflict with your species. Perhaps we can negotiate." "The time for negotiation is over," Johnson cut him off. Her voice was cold. "You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally and face trial for your crimes. If you refuse, we will consider it an act of war against humanity." The transmission cut off, leaving Zextor staring at a blank screen. He turned to his crew, seeing his own fear reflected in their eyes. "Send a message to Imperial High Command," he ordered. Tell them we need everything they've got." As the Imperial ship frantically sent out distress calls, Earth's fleet settled into formation. Araya, the AI controlling the Armada, spoke through every ship's communication system. Its voice was calm, almost serene. "All units in position. Weapons primed. Awaiting final authorization." On Mars, President Johnson looked at the faces around her. General Harper, stern and ready. Dr. Patel, her eyes shining with the light of scientific triumph. Dr. Chen, quietly confident in his AI creation. And on screens, the leaders of every nation on Earth, united in purpose. "For Tommy," Johnson said softly. Then, louder, "For Earth. Authorization granted." A ripple seemed to pass through the fleet. 700,000 dreadnoughts, each a city in space, each armed with weapons that could shatter worlds, waited for the Empire's response. In the depths of space, alarm bells were ringing across the Galactic Empire. Fleets were mobilized, diplomats were woken from stasis, and the Emperor himself was roused from his pleasure chambers. The humans, it seemed, were not the easy prey they had imagined. As the 1-hour deadline approached, humanity held its breath. In homes and bunkers, in ships and stations, every human eye was turned to the stars. The next few moments would determine the fate of their species and the future of the galaxy. The clock ticked down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The universe would never be the same again. The universe held its breath as the countdown reached 0. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, Admiral Zextor's voice crackled through the communication channels. We cannot surrender," he said, his voice trembling. "The Empire does not bow to primitives." On the Mars Command Center, President Johnson's face hardened. She nodded to General Harper, who pressed a glowing red button. "Araya," he said, "execute Battle Plan Alpha." Across the vast fleet, engines roared to life. The AI's calm voice echoed through every ship. "Commencing Operation Retribution." In a blinding flash of light, the Earth fleet vanished. The quantum fold drives, humanity's secret weapon, activated simultaneously. 700,000 dreadnoughts slipped through the fabric of space-time, reappearing moments later around the Empire's homeworld. The imperial capital, a sprawling ecumenopolis covering an entire planet, suddenly found itself surrounded. Panic spread through the streets as civilians looked up to see their sky filled with alien ships. Emperor Xalthor, woken from his slumber, stumbled into the palace war room. "What is the meaning of this?" he roared. His advisors, their faces pale, pointed to the holographic displays. "It's the humans, Your Majesty," one said. They've brought war to our doorstep." Back on the Earth Fleet's flagship, Humanity's Vengeance, President Johnson watched the scene unfold. Dr. Petal stood beside her, monitoring the fleet's systems. "Our quantum fold drive worked perfectly," she reported. The Empire's defenses were caught completely off guard. General Harper's gruff voice came through the speakers. "Aria reports all ships in position. Awaiting your command, Madam President." Johnson took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's future rested on her next words. "Let them taste the fury of Earth," she said quietly. At her command, Aria activated the fleet's weapon systems. Thousands of plasma cannons, each capable of shattering a moon, aimed at carefully selected targets across the imperial capital. "First volley, fire," Aria announced. The space around the planet lit up, as if 1,000 suns had suddenly ignited. Beams of concentrated energy lanced down from the Earth ships, cutting through the Empire's defensive shields like they were paper. On the planet's surface, Imperial military bases erupted in flames. Shipyards crumbled, their half-built vessels tumbling into the atmosphere. Command centers, shielded bunkers, and weapon emplacements all fell before Earth's onslaught. Emperor Xalthor watched in horror as his empire's military might was systematically dismantled. "Launch the fleet," he screamed. "All ships, engage the enemy." Imperial warships rose from hidden hangars, desperately trying to mount a defense. But they were outgunned and outmaneuvered at every turn. Aria's strategic brilliance, coupled with the advanced technology of Earth's ships, made the battle feel like a dance, graceful, precise, and utterly lethal. As the one-sided battle raged, Admiral Zextor's lone ship near Earth received frantic distress calls. He realized, with growing dread, the true extent of humanity's power. "What have we awakened?" he whispered. Hours passed, and the outcome became clear. The Empire's home defenses lay in ruins, its fleet scattered or destroyed. Emperor Xalthor, seeing no other option, fled the planet in a hidden escape craft, along with his highest-ranking officials. As the dust settled, President Johnson addressed the remains of the imperial government. Her voice, broadcasted across the planet, was firm but not unkind. "Your leaders have abandoned you," she said. "Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Resist, and you will share their fate." Across the imperial capital, white flags began to appear. The mighty Galactic Empire, which had stood for millennia, had fallen in a single day to a species they had dismissed as primitive. On the Humanity's Vengeance, the command crew allowed themselves a moment of victory, but General Harper's voice cut through the celebration. "This was just the first battle," he reminded them. "The war has only begun." President Johnson nodded, her eyes fixed on the stars. Somewhere out there, the Emperor was fleeing, and Earth's vengeance would not be complete until justice was served. The galaxy was in chaos. News of the mighty Galactic Empire's defeat spread like wildfire across countless worlds. On some planets, there were celebrations in the streets as long-oppressed species rejoiced in their newfound freedom. On others, panic set in as they wondered what the rise of this new human power would mean for them. Aboard the Humanity's Vengeance, President Johnson called an emergency meeting. "The Emperor is still out there," she said, her voice grim. "As long as he's free, this war isn't over." Dr. Chen stepped forward, his usual calm demeanor tinged with excitement. "ARIA has analyzed the Emperor's escape trajectories. We've narrowed it down to 3 possible destinations." General Harper nodded approvingly. "Then we split our forces. We hunt him down on all fronts." And so began the greatest manhunt the galaxy had ever seen. Earth's fleet, led by Aria's unparalleled strategic mind, spread out across the stars. They moved with a speed and precision that left other species in awe. On Zorbax, a seedy spaceport known for its criminal underworld, a group of human soldiers stormed a hidden safe house. They had received intel that the Emperor had been spotted there, but they were too late. They found only empty rooms and cold food trays. "He was here," one soldier reported back to the fleet. "We missed him by hours." Meanwhile, on the jungle world of Nephthys, another team of Earth's forces fought through dense vegetation and hostile wildlife. They had detected an Imperial distress beacon, but what they found was a clever decoy. "It's a trap," the team leader shouted as hidden turrets opened fire. The humans quickly overcame the defenses, but the Emperor was nowhere to be found. Back on Earth, tensions were rising. The public, initially jubilant at the victory over the Empire's homeworld, was growing restless. "Why haven't we caught him yet?" demanded reporters at a press conference. President Johnson faced the cameras, her resolve unwavering. "The galaxy is vast," she said, "but make no mistake, we will find him. The Emperor will answer for his crimes." As the hunt stretched on, other alien races began to take notice of humanity's power. Some, seeing an opportunity, offered their assistance in tracking down the Emperor. Others, fearing they might be next, began to build up their own defenses. On the ice planet Glacius, Earth's forces finally got a solid lead. A local informant, a six-armed alien with shimmering scales, approached a human patrol. "I know where your quarry hides," it hissed. Following the tip, a team led by General Harper himself assaulted a seemingly abandoned mining facility. As they fought their way through Imperial loyalists, Harper caught a glimpse of a figure in ornate robes fleeing down a corridor. "It's him," Harper shouted. "Don't let him escape." But the Emperor had one more trick up his sleeve. As Harper's team closed in, the facility began to shake. The Emperor had triggered the planet's dormant volcanoes, causing massive eruptions that threatened to destroy everything. As lava flowed and the ground cracked beneath their feet, the humans were forced to retreat. They watched helplessly as the Emperor's personal ship shot up through a geyser of molten rock and disappeared into the sky. "Damn it!" Harper slammed his fist against the wall of their evacuation ship. "We were so close." But Ari's calm voice came through their comms. "Fear not, General. The Emperor's desperation is showing. His options are running out." Indeed, with each close call, the noose tightened around the Emperor. More and more of his hiding spots were discovered and eliminated. His once vast network of allies was crumbling as world after world pledged allegiance to Earth to avoid destruction. As news of the latest near-miss spread, the galaxy held its breath. The hunt had become more than just a military operation. It had become a symbol. To some, it represented justice long overdue. To others, it was a terrifying display of humanity's relentless nature. One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. And somewhere out there, the Emperor ran, the full might of humanity nipping at his heels. The hunt for Emperor Xalthor had stretched on for months, keeping the entire galaxy on edge. But even the most elusive prey eventually runs out of places to hide. On a remote moon orbiting a gas giant in the outer reaches of the galaxy, Earth's forces finally cornered their quarry. The last Imperial stronghold, a fortress buried deep within the moon's crust, stood as the final bastion of the once mighty Galactic Empire. General Harper, leading the assault personally, spoke into his comm unit. "AI, status report." The AI's serene voice filled the command ship. "All units in position, General. The fortress's defenses are formidable, but our simulations show a 99.8% chance of success." Harper nodded grimly. "Let's finish this." The battle that followed was brief but intense. Earth's dreadnoughts rained fire from orbit, while ground troops, protected by advanced energy shields, stormed the fortress. Imperial loyalists fought with the desperation of those who knew this was their last stand. In the heart of the fortress, Emperor Xalthor watched the battle unfold on flickering holoscreens. His once resplendent robes were tattered, his 4 eyes sunken with exhaustion. "How?" he muttered. How could mere humans bring us so low? The answer came in the form of a massive explosion as the fortress's main gate was breached. Through the smoke and debris strode General Harper, flanked by his elite troops. Emperor Xalthor, Harper's voice boomed. In the name of Earth and all victims of your tyranny, you are under arrest. With a cry of rage, Xalthor lunged for a hidden weapon. But before he could reach it, a stun blast from Harper's rifle sent him crumpling to the floor. As the Emperor was led away in chains, cheers erupted among Earth's forces. Across the galaxy, billions watched the live broadcast of Xalthor's capture. A chapter of galactic history had come to an end. Back on Earth, President Johnson addressed the United Nations. "Today marks not just the end of a war," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "It marks the beginning of a new era for all sentient beings in the galaxy." In the following weeks, representatives from thousands of worlds converged on Earth for the formation of a new galactic council. The Grand Assembly Hall, built specially for this occasion, buzzed with a cacophony of languages and the rustle of diverse appendages. President Johnson took the podium, facing the assembled delegates. "We stand at a crossroads," she began. "The old empire ruled through fear and oppression. We propose a new way forward, one of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared prosperity." The debate that followed was long and often heated. Many species, long subjugated by the empire, were wary of any central authority. Others saw the potential for a truly united galaxy. Dr. Priya Patel, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, worked tirelessly to bridge divides. "We're not seeking to replace one empire with another," she explained to a group of hesitant delegates. "We're proposing a coalition of equals, with Earth as just one voice among many." After days of negotiation, a consensus was reached. The new Galactic Council would be formed, with rotating leadership and checks and balances to prevent any one species from dominating. As the final votes were tallied, a cheer went up in the assembly hall. Species that had been mortal enemies under the old empire now embraced, their differences set aside in the spirit of a new beginning. In a solemn ceremony, broadcast to every corner of the galaxy, the Galactic Charter was signed. President Johnson, her hand steady, was the first to put pen to paper. "Let this be a new dawn," she said, her words echoing across the stars. "A dawn of justice, of peace, and of unity." As the ceremony concluded, fireworks lit up the skies of 1,000 worlds. The galaxy celebrated not just the end of tyranny, but the birth of a new age. In a quiet moment amidst the festivities, General Harper found President Johnson staring out at the stars. "Thinking about Tawny?" he asked softly. Johnson nodded, a tear glistening in her eye. "He would have loved to see this," she said. "A whole galaxy of wonders, open to all." As they watched, a shooting star streaked across the sky, a symbol, perhaps, of the bright future that lay ahead for all sentient beings in this vast, beautiful universe.